put the mic on for all those watching at home. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, everybody. I don't think we had anyone signing up to address the board, so we'll move on to item 4. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the meetings held on April 5th and May 8th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. I should have noted this in the beginning. We do have 3 board members present tonight, which does constitute a quorum. So even though we're missing a couple board members, we can still go through our business today. So on to item 6, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. We did not have any conflicts of interest to review, so we move on to item 8, approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. And then we have 2 items for supplemental consent agenda. Can I get an approval for the contract agreement with Avera Health?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion passes with 1 abstention from myself. And then can I get a motion and a second to approve the contract agreement with Sanford Health?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes with 1 abstention from Board Member Ryder. And on to the reports of the President. We've got the first one is the General Education Academic Update Report.
Good afternoon, President Sarenbetz and members of the board. My name is Brittany Maurer. I'm the Dean of Professional Studies at Southeast Technical College. I have members here from the General Education Department that will be presenting a program overview and update for you. So I'll let them take it away.
Hello, my name is Heather Adamson, and I teach English and Communication at Southeast Technical College. I've been there since 2019.
Hi, I'm Jill Vetras. I'm a math instructor at Southeast, and I just started this fall. I was 30 years at McGovern, Patrick Henry, and Axtell Park. So.
I'm Erin Meckelberg. I teach computer applications and business, and I've been full-time since the spring.
So we're here to tell you a little bit about our general education program. Sometimes when I talk about general education and being an instructor, I will say that I am legitimately the worst part of most students' day. And I mean that sincerely. If you've been out to our campus, you know we have a beautiful campus, lovely labs, state-of-the-art facilities for everything, and nobody comes there because they want to take general education in addition to that. However, we also know that one of the more common things we get when we talk to our industry partners is we love to see them have more communication skills, problem-solving skills, just basic get along with other people, interaction skills, and your general education classes are the place where that happens. We have a cross-section in our classes that is all the programs, all the majors, and it's a chance to do that. So let's take a look at our program outcomes. Okay. Hate to take over. All right. So again, we're a mixed group. We constitute a lot of different categories of classes that we need to take. If we were on Gilligan's Island, we would be the rest that kind of get all thrown together. But these are our kind of shared goals that we have as a team that we'd want to do. So use technology to access, organize, communicate, and evaluate information. Design an approach to answer questions or achieve a desired goal. Evaluate issues, ideas, artifacts, or events before forming a conclusion. Implement effective collaboration techniques to produce effective results within a team. Demonstrate ethical behavior that exhibits a value for a community. Communicate for understanding through listening, speaking, and writing. Very broad, but it kind of sets our overall goal for what we try to do as a gen ed team. probably are familiar with this, but the reason that we have general education credits is established from the Board of Tech Ed for us, that we would have for those getting the associate's degree or associate's degree for us, 15 credit hours of general education credits from the 6, we call them buckets or categories, communication, social sciences, mathematics, computers, arts and humanities, and natural sciences. So that is something that comes down from us from our Board of Tech Ed. How do people know what classes to take is another question that we get asked quite frequently. So that is established by the actual programs, how to do that. These forms are kind of small, but every year or catalog, however you want to think of it, we put out what the current offerings are. That's based on input and things like that. And then those programs each set up what is required. For nursing, maybe you have 2 sciences and this many communication, et cetera. And they list which ones for their students that are able to take to fit into those categories of general education. Sometimes they have an option and they can choose kind of which things to do. Also, in some programs, they might have an option of taking a 100 versus a transferable class. And some, they right away need to do that. But a lot of our programs that would be more likely to go on to a 4-year degree or something additional later, they're really either required or highly encouraged to take those transferable ones so that they're not having to duplicate credits later. And so that's something that all the advisors in program areas would know and be able to help them with, and it's clearly noted on the website and the forms which ones are transferable.
So these are our math courses that we have. Most of our students take the Math 100, which is math applications, the general math that's required for them. Then they're placed based on their either their ACT or placement, the AccuPlacer test that they have taken, and that determines the path that they're going. 101 and 116 kind of go together in a little bit of pre-algebra, introductory algebra into 116. That's algebra and trigonometry. A lot of our engineering students, that's the path that they choose to go, and those are non-transferable. And then 114, 120, those are transferable, and those are that's a path that, again, our engineering students are on. 103 is our quantitative reasoning class, which is a transferable one as well. With the 100, well, with all of our classes, one thing that we've really been working on, but specifically 100, is we're revamping that a little bit this year to really try to figure out what math do they need so they're successful in their programs, and things that we're hearing from the industry that, hey, they need to be able to do proportions in their head and some of those basic skills. So we're really working on figuring out how we can best, and I think that they sometimes want to be there for math a little bit, but maybe that's just me.
I'm definitely tops on the hate list. A few hate math more, but pretty close.
So then here's our faculty members between full-time and adjunct. So.
Communication. So these are the communication courses that we offer. The CMST are our speech type of classes, and then we would have our communication in the workplace. English 100, again, is that class that many of our degrees are going to go with. And then we have the transferable of the English comp, basically. 094 is pre-academic, or intro to academic writing. That would be sort of a pre-101 if you need that help to get to that space. And then we have a technical writing class as well. But those are kind of our basics on that. In terms of staff, myself and 2 other full-timers. And again, just the reason we have all these up there is sometimes we get asked who can teach a class at Southeast Tech. They're all highly credentialed faculty, able to teach transferable classes, those 4-year classes, know their subject area very well, but choose to come and be loved, well loved by the students. We understand the role that we're in and how important it is, so we generally really like it very much. we do not have our social scientists here, but we offer a range of a couple different psychology classes, again, that transferable, and the psychology in the workplace. This is one that students are really very interested in when they go. They like learning kind of why are we the ways that we are a little bit. It's a really good interaction class. Sometimes they're surprised it's still difficult. There's a lot of terms and things to memorize, but they really do enjoy that a lot. Social problems and some of those as well. And then our econ classes are a little bit newer and something we don't offer every semester, but has been added and that we've been doing lately. And we have one full-time in our social sciences currently. But again, she's very highly credentialed and manages that very well.
Okay, it's my turn. So we have Introduction to Computers, and this class focuses on the Microsoft suites. So it's Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and Word. And we have a wide range of students that come with different ability needs. And so we frequently have students that have never been on a computer, sent an email. And so it's my job to navigate where are they starting from and how do I get them to be efficient enough so that they can perform not only in their other classes, but also when they leave Southeast Tech. And I'm the full-time teacher for computers, and then we have a variety of adjuncts that help as well throughout the semester.
Natural sciences, we have a variety again of these. We've got your physiology, physics, environmental science is one that has been added more recently. Students again really enjoy that quite a bit. In this category, we also have a couple that they fit in the gen ed categories, but they're not managed by the gen ed team. They might be program directed, so such as our vet anatomy is instructed by people who know more about animals, and our EMT class also fits in that category. So we do have a couple additional ones. They're certainly part of Southeast Tech. They're just not managed by the gen ed team. And our main instructor for that is Julie Olson, and she's fabulous addition who's come recently. If you ever get a chance to talk to her about, going around the world or testing water in Lake Lorraine, she's done a lot of really fun, active things to share with the students. And humanities category is kind of small, and we don't offer it all the time. Again, we have started this recently, conversational Spanish. It's one of those that has a high interest, and we're just working to figure out how do we offer it in a way that the students can take it and fit it in their schedules and everybody's schedules, and but we don't have enough. So that gets a little bit tricky on that, but it's something that's kind of up and coming that's been kind of fun and interesting for students. A lot of them want to kind of get that level, being able to talk to other people in Spanish without maybe having to do all the grammar and that stuff. But grammar is lovely, and we all should not dismiss that in any way.
I'm sure Bobby slips it in somehow in her,
Yeah,
her
there we go.
classes, I would
We
imagine.
still have to conjugate verbs. There's no avoiding this. Just highlighting a couple of our partnerships, and I'll probably let Jill speak to this because she's sort of our rover, and I think we've sent you to all of these on that. But there are certainly other places that we are. But these are a couple of our programs or partnerships that we're really proud of. I'm part of the Classroom to Careers. I teach at Washington High School 3 mornings a week as part of that. And that is actually us recently painting houses for Habitat for Humanity. And so we just kind of have some really neat spaces that we go as well as a gen ed department. I don't know if you want to speak to any of those other programs.
And I also got to teach the Classroom to Careers for the math class this semester, and it was amazing. I had some students that I had as 7th graders. I got to see them then as seniors graduating and saying, I'm going to go to Southeast in the construction management or in civil engineering. So it was, and they were EL students, so they did not know any English when they were first with me, and now to see them graduate, it's pretty cool. And they never thought that they didn't see that path when they first got here. So it's an amazing experience to be able to go out to Washington. And Jennifer, who is our lead out at Washington, she's done an amazing job of recruiting and getting students that fit that into that, got to be a part of that. So it's really cool. CTE in the spring we would go over, and 2 days a week they could take a math class, and 2 days a week they can take an English class just right out there. They're able to continue on. You know, we try to get them, hey, if you're going to take a class at CTE, here's an opportunity to take a STC class as well. So it's a really neat opportunity for them, and hopefully we can just get growing that, getting more and more students involved in that. And then most of them were, again, coming to Southeast. So it's great for them. And then I got to be the math teacher for the Department of Corrections program that we started, and highlight of my day. I mean, really, it was. They were amazing in all that they, so respectful and just wanting to learn, and so excited about learning and growing, and just excited about the opportunity and the chances that they're going to have now. So that was a neat partnership that has been developed.
Yeah, so I mean, these are great programs, and we really, they're probably the highlight of my day too. It's a break, something different, but even when in the classroom, like I said, I joke a little bit about being that worst part of their day, but at the same time, they get to know you, they look forward to you. We kind of build that relationship in a different way, because we're not grading their task or their career. We're just trying to encourage them to be who they are and do their thing. So I would say that. I did bring some numbers. You could split general education numbers a million ways, so I'll just try to tell you what these are a little bit to give you a snapshot. So Avera Academy, this is our our program with Avera. This is a program where I probably don't have to explain all that. They interview, they're selected, they go through that. These are students who are interested in health careers. They get to do wonderful things with Avera as that part of it. And then they start their general education classes with us. Many of these students are physically coming to our classrooms and embedded with our other students as they're going through. So they're going to be on campus. Some are online, but a lot of them are on campus with our other students. Classrooms Careers that we were just mentioning is at Washington High School, and in that case we go out to the campus and teach there. And then this is just sort of a non-duplicated dual credit number that doesn't encompass, I believe doesn't encompass Avera Classroom, just a careers, or our sort of other small one-offs of dual credit, like your homeschool. We have some at McCrossin. We have kind of a bunch of smatterings that aren't fitting in there. And this would also not be all Sioux Falls students, because we have dual credit from across the state. So just kind of showing that we do stay busy in that dual credit realm. And these are really small, but just kind of trying to show a little bit how much are our categories or our buckets doing. And you can see that we do a lot of math, we do a lot of communications, a lot of computers, those sorts of things. And some kind of, our Spanish, again, we only ran it in the spring this year. Some of those kinds of things, it's taking a little bit to we've run it a couple different times in a couple different ways, trying to find that right way. There's high interest, just getting the right students. Those are things where we have to go back and talk to our programs. When are your students available? When do we get that going? And it just takes a little bit when we start something new to get that right fit. But I think that one will probably take off on that as well. And again, these are just kind of, you could run the numbers a lot of ways, but just kind of showing that we have a lot going on for Gen Ed. Yeah, that's all I have. Questions, things we can share or talk to you about?
Any questions, comments?
No, I understand what you're saying when you're saying that, you know, they're maybe not your favorite part, but I really do think that the work that you guys do helps them in their other classes that are really career oriented. So whether it's using the computer for everyday things like Word and checking your email, or whether it's math and it's those basic functions that they have to be able to do regardless of what their career, career choices. And obviously communication for everybody is super important. So even though they may not be their favorite and they might think they're like the fluff classes, you know, the fillers, they really do kind of have fingers in all of those other classes. And so really making a good impact. And I love, again, just like you mentioned, all of the different partnerships to see where we can hit people at different points in their lives. And whether it's, your former middle school students or the inmates that have now a glimmer of hope of being able to have a new opportunity, I think all of those are just so important to our community and building that workforce and having all of us benefit from having people who are being productive. So don't take anything away from yourselves. You guys do great work and very important. So thank you for the information. It was interesting.
Thank you. All right, can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the general education academic update report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Now on to the STC marketing update report.
Hi, I'm Jen Lampley. I'm the marketing coordinator at Southeast Tech. I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update to you guys on some of the marketing projects that are going on campus and show you how they're going to relate to the next strategic plan. So you probably know that Southeast Tech finalized a new strategic plan last year, and marketing and awareness was pinpointed as a priority area in that plan. It's priority area 5. The broader statement is by 2025, Southeast Technical College will have simplified its message and repeat it through the course of 24 to 36 months to build out city and brand and regional brand recognition for the purpose of sharing the STC story about our mission, students, and alumni. So we're starting to make some progress on some of these goals, but I wanted to show you first kind of how they're broken up. I won't read this whole thing, but each priority area is broken up into goals, and then that goal is further broken up into tactics. Our first goal deals with our brand identity and distinguishing target audiences. The second one is going to relate to how we're going to use that brand identity to tell our story. And then the third addresses having an integrated approach to communication and advertising and marketing. So one of the tactics of Goal 1, the brand identity, that came up time and time again while we were finalizing this plan was signage. So I've got a couple examples of projects we're doing there. One of them is wayfinding signage. One thing that we kept hearing was people come to campus and they don't know where to go, or even they might not know, like from the interstate, that our campus is even there. So we're working on these wayfinding kiosks. The goal will be to have one in every building on campus, and it's going to be a touch screen that will pull from our website directory, so we'll have live updates to it. It will have information on offices, departments, classrooms, labs, whatever a visitor may be looking for. And so then here is kind of a better view of how it works. A user can go search by a person, by a room, by a department, and then it will also pull in events. So when we have admissions events and there's maybe parents and potential students coming to campus, or even outside groups that have borrowed space for their meetings so they can find it and know where to go. We are almost ready to demo that in the Mickelson building. And so we're going to test it out a little bit, work out the kinks, and then build it out and replicate it in the other buildings on campus. And then other signage projects, we have drafted kind of a phase 2 of our signage plan. And what we want to do with that is kind of give Southeast Tech a clean slate going forward. There's a few places on campus where we still have Institute or STI written somewhere, so we want to get rid of all of that, so we really have a clean slate, so we can put a strong branding message on our buildings and exterior and all that. So I just put a couple pictures here of some mock-ups that we've done for things that could potentially be included in a plan like that. And then one more that relates to the brand identity goal is our branding guide. We're working on updating this. Southeast Tech has had a branding guide for a number of years, and it's pretty good, but it can be better. We are updating it so it's kind of more of a user-friendly technical guide for people that are using our brand and our logo and our colors and our fonts and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be adding a social media standards and best practices section, and then also adding a writing and voice conversation just to convey how we speak to our audiences, clearly, conversationally, and directly. And we're hoping to have that finalized in the next couple of months. Okay, and then going on to storytelling here. kind of more into goal 2, like how we're going to tell our story. In 22-23, in the enrollment campaign, we started looking for kind of the hard-hitting headlines. We did a series of interviews where we interviewed students and alumni and asked them what Southeast Tech meant to them. And then we used that footage for commercials. We used it for audio spots. We used it in digital advertising and on our website. But some of the things that they said that we thought would resonate with audiences are, I'm actually doing something I enjoy. That was from an alumni. STC gave me a life I didn't think was possible. I grew my confidence at STC. I discovered who I am and who I want to be. I put my career on the back burner to raise my family, and now it's my turn. So for this coming year, we're going to keep building that out, hoping to include more students, more alumni, more stories, and just share more social media, website, digital ads, and also in our communications funnel. And then I just wanted to show you here an example of how that's been built out so far. We have this video library on our website, and then this My STC story page. Oh, hold on. So here you can see just a synopsis of what each person said, and then you can click on their stories and read the whole thing. You can watch the video, and then those pages will also filter through onto any appropriate program page or maybe landing pages for transfer students or online classes and that sort of thing. All right, so then getting back into the feature stories, I'm not going to click on this link because it's a little cumbersome to click back and forth, but if you go to southeasttech.edu/news, you can see a whole list of different website news items that we've done throughout the year, feature stories. I just recently counted them all up for 22-23, and we had more than 50 news items, and about half of them, a little bit more, were picked up by local and regional media. So we were pretty pleased with that. And then I wanted to talk about the enrollment campaign coming up. Talked a little bit about the messaging, but also wanted to touch on the tactics. Like we said, we're trying to create a multifaceted approach. And so this slide just kind of visualizes some of the things that we're doing here. I'll go through some of them briefly. Video has been performing really well for us, so we're keeping that going. We're going to be on broadcast TV and connected TV, which is a platform you can use to get on any of the streaming apps, and it will take a look at who uses which apps and who you're trying to reach to determine exactly where it comes. But streaming TV, working on general awareness a little bit. This past year, we started advertising with South Dakota Public Broadcasting during state tournaments, which has been great. And for a couple of years, we've been placing ads in the programs for the other state tournaments. So that's going to continue. Writing more feature stories, like I'd mentioned. One of the things that we're doing is we're placing some sponsored content on Pigeon 605. We partnered with Jody Schwan for that, and it's a child of Sioux Falls business with a younger skewing demographic. So that's been good too. And then we're continuing with digital ads, website retargeting, and our communications funnel that has direct mail, email, texting. And then just wanted to touch on that with part of the multifaceted plan is finding a way to integrate the two. One example is direct mail implication. So if a student comes into our funnel and they receive a postcard, for example, in the mail, we take those addresses and we can geo-target them so the devices in that household get hit with a digital ad as well as follow-up. And another way is geofencing college fairs. And it's the same kind of theory. If our admissions team is at a college fair, we can draw a virtual fence around it and serve the devices in there for a set amount of time, digital ads as well. And it's kind of just a good way to make everything a little bit more personal. Because some of the research that we've been seeing, from groups like Ruffle, Noel Levitt's, and other higher ed research institutions, they're telling us that students want more and more of a personalized experience when they are conducting their college search. So one example of how we are doing that is personalization on our website. So these 3 graphics are testimonials that may be on the homepage of southeasttech.edu. And on an initial visit, you might see Trey, who gives his message. But then if a user pokes around on the site a little bit, maybe they're interested in surgery tech and they've been on some healthcare pages, the next time they come back, they may see a testimonial from a healthcare student that can focus more in on the assets of those programs. So kind of a simple example, but wanted to provide an example for that. And then I put a construction example too, and that would work the same way. If they were poking around on a welding page or construction management, they might see a quote from a construction management student when they return to the homepage. And that is about it. I wanted to put get your degree, get to work on here. Just going back to the targeted messaging, the direct messaging. We've used this as a tagline before in the past, but we're gonna continue to use it because it works with a lot of audiences and helps us with those marketing goals. So that is what I have for you. Is there anything I can clarify or any questions?
Any questions?
I like the testimonial and the quick videos the kids can watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and we actually took those videos and cut them down from full length so we can use different links on platforms for people with shorter attention spans. And so they go as short as 6 seconds. So that was kind of a challenge to get that message down to 6 seconds in some cases. But
There is a generation that needs that, for sure.
Yeah, and I know we've used this before, but I love this because it speaks exactly to the goal of our college is to go get a degree and then go work. So, I mean, you're not beating around the bush. It's right there, but it's also very appealing. Like, oh, I can get my degree and I can go right to work. So it depends on how you read it, but either way, it's true, and it's I like it. It's just very simple and very easy to understand.
can't really get more direct.
No.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve the marketing update report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. And on to the FY24 budget. Rich? Hi.
Hi. President Serbitz and members of the board, just a brief opening statement. I'd like to throw a lifeline to the Gen Ed people by stating, as the guy that collects the money from students, I'm pretty sure that I supplant them as the worst part of certain students' days. So I wish they were here to hear that. So, but anyway, this is the public hearing for the tentative adoption of our FY24 budget. This is the first step in the final approval process. Later in June, we'll be meeting with the STC Council, which we have membership from the board on. We'll dive into a little more detail in that, and I think that's where you'll start to see some of the connectivity more specifically to the strategic plan, the Vision 2025 plan. But this is to get us started and get us moving forward. I won't go through all 51 pages, so I imagine there's some disappointment with that, but I'll try to hit the highlights here and really focusing on about the third page, fourth page in on that executive summary, which summarizes the changes in the revenue components and the expenditure components for our FY24 proposed budget. The documents and the narratives all support what rolls into these specific charts, but starting with the revenue side of it, we're seeing a little bit of growth in tuition. Methodology is kind of a backwards look. What are we experiencing in the last 12 months? So we're seeing that as opposed to what we had in FY23 when we developed that budget. We'll continue to monitor that as more AAR events take place and we start to sure up the enrollment. Typically, we don't make too many adjustments when we get to the tentative. Still a little bit early yet, but we look for anything shocking that would make us move one way or the other. Fees follow the tuition, obviously, based on credits and enrollments. State aid, general comment about the legislative session. This year in 2023, I had made the comment when we were before the Bureau of Finance and Management. I said the prior two budgets were the two best I had seen the state present in my 19 years here, and I made the comment that I'm kind of hoping I can say that for a third year in a row. The commissioner didn't confirm that I'd be able to do that, but now that it's done, I can say it was probably the third best budget we've seen coming out of the state. So very gracious for the state support. Some of the specifics, the PSA was increased by 7%, which is a little bit unusual that we actually outpaced the K-12 side of it in that. So that's a positive for us. There was some additional support provided for salary increases, which I'll talk about in the next board report as we go to adopt the salary schedules. Last year, the state provided funding to provide 6% for all technical college employees. They did 7% this year, and it's a little bit wonky in how they came up with the calculation, but it did factor in, but there's additional funding provided for that. Maintenance and repair funds were increased. They also provided some equipment funding for from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. They provide 2/3. We match on a local level at a third. So that's providing us a pretty good bite into some of that outstanding equipment that had been setting out there and pushed out to years into the future. So very positive results from the state side of the funding equation. I think the other piece that comes into play with this, which is really a positive going forward, is that this has all made it into what we would call the above the line calculation. So it's not one-time money, it's part of the ongoing distribution formula. So the salary support for both instructors and the staff overall, that stays in there. That increase in the PSA stays in there. So these are all positive things in those distribution dollars. So we're not having to fight for those again each year or make those requests. Federal resources are declining just a little bit, and that's more a reflection of the conclusion of the pandemic and some of those HERF funds. We're finalizing some purchases we have through the end of October to draw down all the funds, which we will. We won't leave anything on the table. When it comes to both the student share and the institutional share, we'll be able to make utilization of all of those through the various eligibility categories. Local sources, what you're seeing, and you'll see this on the expenditure side as well, is always a timing difference when you get into these construction projects and things that happen. So construction's underway in the Zeal. A lot of the local support is related to the gifts from the healthcare systems. You just approved those agreements today, so we'll start to see those funds roll in, but they'll happen in FY24. So basically it's just a reprogramming of the same dollars. It'd be nice to say there was $5 million and another $5 million, but it's really just a reprogramming of the same dollars. Utilization of existing cash, we had planned on doing that last year. We're reducing that a little bit this year. There's just some carryover, some projects of M&R funds that didn't get spent. We were kind of keeping the powder dry, so to speak, on projects, waiting to see what the Zeal project would come in at, where we thought we would be on that, and we were holding on to some funds. So we'll move forward in getting those into place. On the expenditure side, as I indicated, the state's willing to fund a 7% increase. They're providing funding that ranges in the 620 to 665 range. 665,000 is our early estimate. Our actual obligation is probably going to be in that 820 range, 840 range. The way they calculated was based on what percentage of our total revenue stream comes from tuition and fees. We'll then give as a system 7% of that. Well, that's not our entire revenue stream. So it's odd when you look at, well, 6% was 2.7 million to the system and 7% is 2.1 million. Well, how can 7% be less than 6? But like I said, it was kind of you have to dig into the details of the calculation. But one of the caveats of accepting that state funds was to freeze, which I comment in there, of at both the state level and the local level, our tuition and fees. So that will remain at current levels. There will be no adjustments there, no increases. So any increase in our revenue stream is coming from increased enrollments and or additional state support. That also reflects some additional FTE in the full-time wages. There's 8 positions that we are proposing in the tentative adoption budget, 5 instructional positions, 3 support positions. The 5 instructional, 3 of the 5 are related to new programs that we're bringing online with the opening of the Zeal building. We'll actually bring them on before we start enrolling students for some accreditation requirements to have people in place 6 months before we start delivering courses. The other one, the dental instructor, is coming out of the accreditation visit. Given our enrollment numbers, we're required to have a second instructor, so that's a positive reflected to enrollment. And then the other additional one is the ending of a contract that we had with one of the healthcare systems. We contracted and they provided an instructor. That person has since retired, and so we're going to bring that position in-house and will be a SDC employee going forward. Support positions, again, this is an academic support in a clinical coordinator. That was a requirement, again, kind of going back to accreditations and coordinating all the clinical activities that are happening. There is a, call it a backfill, but there's a request to add an additional student success advisor as we move the existing one over to support the ARC Center and tutoring and that component of retention. And then we've requested to create a director of facilities, adding more square footage, and it's probably been long overdue. Not necessarily my background. So this, I think, will help long-term campus in getting projects identified and getting them to fruition, and maybe provide a little bit of a relief for the K-12 side of it and the support that Jeff and his group provides to us. Capital equipment, again, this is a reprogramming of existing dollars. This is related to Senate Bill 61. I should back up. Benefits obviously move with the additional wage costs. Services, why they're down is because the architectural fees, most of those for the Zeal have already been incurred. We're just in the construction management side of it. So the majority of the decline is related to those fees. Supplies, that's just general software, kind of cost of doing business types of things. Capital equipment, I put that Perkins is declining, even though the Perkins revenue is actually going up. But what we're doing with those new positions, we're leveraging those Perkins dollars to fund those new instructional positions because they're eligible for that, especially in light of what funds we're receiving from the state. So it would seem like a good way, especially when we're limited to our ability to increase. Using Perkins funds when we roll out new programs gives it time to get the programs established. Our state support is always in arrears, so it allows it to kind of become more self-funding and utilize those dollars. For that, the capital improvement, that's why it's going down, or the capital equipment is down. It's just because we're pulling some of those Perkins dollars for wages rather than capital equipment. Capital improvements, again, is the simulation center, a reprogramming of it. Same thing on the capital equipment. That's that Senate Bill 61 from the state, providing $4.5 million for that. Stuff's been ordered. You acted on that earlier to get those POs in the pipeline. We probably won't receive any of those dollars or any of that equipment until FY24, so that's when the expense is recognized. So again, a reprogramming. The other, and I just put it in there because it's goofy in a personal editorial on GASB 87, but it's just one of the requirements of how we now have to report for long-term leases. So this is really related to those multifunctional devices. The Zeal building will factor into that, and so we now have a debt component, which we've never really had before. Normally, we just recognize the Zeal as equipment or as facility rental, the multifunctional devices as equipment rental because of that 87 requirements. We actually reduce the rental and then we show this debt obligation. So Don't ask me to explain it, but that's my general understanding of how GASB 87 applies. When we get into the enterprise funds, we have those 3 business-like activities in the bookstore, food service fund and childcare fund. We're seeing more utilization of the food service fund, which is good, but we're always pressured to keep prices low. So I think the campus will have to subsidize that again this year and has programmed that going forward. Childcare looks a little bit shocking, I guess, if you look at the use of cash, and probably a little background on that. A couple of years ago, it was ending the year with quite a bit of negative cash, and the prior auditors had requested that we clean that up. So right about the time I transferred a bunch of post-secondary funds in there to clean that up, they got a federal award, a couple different grants that really made them whole and when they needed to transfer that. So it's just a timing difference. So this is allowing that to kind of utilize that cash to go back down again. Also, we may have to come back in with a subsidy, but the other component to it is this budget reflects at the time it was developed 3 open positions. So when I budget positions, I always assume the maximum benefit load, which especially in the child care typically is not the case. Usually it's a much less impact. So I suspect by the time we get to the final adoption, we'll see that number narrow quite a bit. And bookstore is pretty much same. Providing the products and expect to land where we are there. There's additional detail behind there, but again, it all really rolls up to what's reflected in these 2 tables here. So I will stand by for any questions anybody would have.
Okay, any questions for Rich?
It's amazing how you got those 2 numbers to match exactly.
Well, it kind of has to happen that way. Yeah, that's that plug number that comes in there. So yeah, I think there's one line and I can't remember. I always kind of adjust. Okay, this is the one I'm going to tweak it on. I think it's in Bob's category somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's good news. It's encouraging to see when you look back to where we were 5 or 6 years ago, and how far we've come. And it's not just you magically working the numbers. It's the entire team pulling in, additional enrollment and working on the childcare and advertising the food and all of those things together, getting spaces out, getting people to come out there and utilize the space that's amazing and should be utilized. All of that kind of fits into helping to make this overall picture look a lot better than it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I boil it down into 15 minutes and 2 tables, but there's literally, a couple thousand expenditure accounts and all different activities. When you aggregate it, yes, there's a similar functionality to it. But at the end of the day, as we put in our assurance argument, it really comes down to enrollment. And 85% either direct through payments of students or through our state support is coming through those enrollments. So it's critical when we hear Jen talk about marketing aspects and the things that they're trying to do and get a very competitive environment, looking to create that value proposition to help in that enrollment growth. That really is important. I will take a risk and point to the fence and say we probably will not have the 4th greatest budget from the state again next year, but we'll keep my fingers crossed as we move towards that. So,
good story.
Well,
thank you.
All right, so open to the public hearing. Anyone wishes to address the board?
Anybody that's here, if they say anything, they know I'm going to go back and make cuts to the final adoption.
No threats from the podium.
No.
No. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And I can't remember what to do if I'm supposed to hold a motion. We'll just hold a motion.
Yeah, a motion to accept the
Tentative adoption.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Yep, motion to adopt the tentative.
Yes, all right, so can I get a motion to tentatively approve the FY24 budget?
I would make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That is passed. On to the salary schedules.
I opened my comment of why I'm not the favorite person with students. This is why I'm not the favorite person with the staff. So I live a lonely life on campus. This is we talked a little bit about it, but this is really a positive, something that we really struggled with other than what the state stepped up and provided in the last couple of years. So this allows us to do a 7% increase to all of our salary schedules. We made a mid-year adjustment this year to the Scarborough program assistant ones. We were just not getting any applicants. That seemed to help, so she's got people that she's going to place. The other thing that we were challenged with, and you'll see in the schedules, is we did break off the custodial and created one, and it's not a unique one. It actually mirrors what you just adopted on the K-12 side of it. As I alluded to, as we were trying to formulate that schedule, I said, if I make it higher than yours, I'm going to get a phone call. If I don't make it at least the same, I'm going to get 21 phone calls. So this is now in line with what the K-12 was. And just as an example, we've had a position open probably for 2 months. It had over 100 views on it, haven't even interviewed anybody. So hopefully this will help. Hopefully you're seeing that on your side and you kind of cut some trail on that. We should expect to see this. So this just is affecting that operational services cost center. So it's the custodials, the custodial managers, the engineers, the groundkeepers, but it mirrors yours. But otherwise, a little bit of background in the narrative, but again, 7% across the board.
Great. Nothing bad about that.
No, no.
All
Speaking
right.
first.
Thank you. Any questions about the salary schedules? No. Can I get a motion and a second to, are we just tentatively approving them? That's what it
No.
says in quorum. No? Okay.
No, this would be a final approval.
Final
This-
approval.
Yeah, approval of
Okay.
the salary schedule.
All right, so can I get a motion and a second to approve the salary schedules for 2024?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you, Rich.
Super, thank you.
All right, anything else?
I'd like to have the record reflect weak applause for. Yeah. Good afternoon, President Saravitz, members of the board. I just wanted to tie up a couple of things here if I could. I really feel it's important, as Rich mentioned throughout his finance report, to thank Governor Noem and the state legislature for their support of technical education. When we're there in front of legislators, my pitch, our pitch as presidents is essentially, we are a great investment for the state of South Dakota, and we're able to document that return of investment with, producing qualified graduates that obtain very good jobs in careers in South Dakota. So I wanted to say thank you there. Thank you to the board for allowing us to change the date from earlier in May to today's date. We do very much appreciate that. Of course, the reason for that was our comprehensive visit in April. The visit went, I think, very well. We are still, however, waiting for the final report. I did summon my courage and send off an email to Linnea Stenson, who's our HLC liaison, and just said, Linnea, it's been 4 or 5 weeks now, and I think the review team said it'll be 3 or 4 weeks before you'll get the report. So just checking in, and to see how things are progressing. And she did notify me that last Friday the report from the team is actually in, so it is on her desk. And she said there's a bit of a process that HLC goes through. And she said there's 2 other campuses in front of you, but I'll get that released to you. So it should be very soon. And again, I think as Board Member Ryder mentioned, how far we have come. That assurance argument is our documentation. It is our comprehensive audit, if you will, with the Higher Learning Commission, and it is, you all participated in it, and thank you for that, but it is in depth, and we are proud of the case we presented, so regardless of the outcome, I think we did an excellent job, and the Southeast Tech faculty, staff, students, everyone participated. So we're anxious to see how HLC reviewed the assurance argument and final comments there as well. And my last comment was I just wanted to mention, besides graduation, which is the highlight of the academic year, I think we had 917 graduates, as I look at Megan to confirm that number. But yeah, we had over 150 in December, and then over, we had over 750 at the spring ceremony. So that's outstanding. Anytime you cross that 900 threshold again, that is outstanding. So we were very excited to see that again. And then another event coming up, just to add to your calendar, and I believe Megan has reached out to each of you individually to notify you of this, but we have our Build Dakota Signing Day coming up on Friday, June 2nd. We have a great program. Outside of graduation, I really think that is one of the best days to be at Southeast Tech. We are so fortunate this year to have 154 Build Dakota scholarships that were awarded. That is the highest number we've ever had. And the only way we were able to do that is, again, once again, to have all of the students matched with industry partners. So I think that speaks volumes in terms of, again, the quality of our students by those companies, business and industries across not only Sioux Falls, but across the state, really investing in our students. So it's great to see those numbers increasing as well. And I guess the last point of order was that in visiting with Brett Arns, he had asked that I recognize that there is no June meeting, and the board acknowledged that there is no June meeting and that we've rescheduled our July meeting to July 10th. So with that, I will close. Thank you again for your help and assistance and for allowing us to meet this afternoon.
We're proud of you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean it. We think you guys run a great operation.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes. I think there's strong consensus there, Mark. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a high school graduate this last weekend, and I was scrolling through his Senior Babes issue of the Statesman and saw a nice advertisement from Southeast Tech, and I'm like, yes. All right.
Yeah.
You know, because we are, and I think I saw quite a few students that are headed your way next year. So just such a great program. I'm trying to encourage my graduate to take some classes next year and explore some career opportunities there. So you might just see us on campus here.
Well, thank you. I think we're becoming a first choice more and more, so that's exciting to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything else for the good of the order? All right, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.